I will be watching the game today. I actually didn't get to watch much of it yesterday, so I'll definitely be watching today's. Um, Also, just to let you know, we didn't have it up on Twitter, so I did just put that up there. Hopefully, it didn't mess anything up. But um, yeah, we uh, we were bad yesterday. It was a rough game, but again, there was flashes shown by Traore and Jaeger, which was nice to see. Clearly teams are beginning to game plan around Michael Porter Jr. As I've said this whole time, I think that you keep him. I think he can undoubtedly be a great second option, but you still need to find that first. So we're hoping to get that in the draft this year.
All right, so let's just get right to it. 2026 off season. Break it down for us.
Yeah, so did a bit of research. It took a little bit longer than I had originally hoped, just because. Bless you. Um, because
Thank you.
there's a couple of moving pieces that haven't been fully addressed. Like there's certain things with salary cap, team options, things like that. So starting things off, we're gonna do the draft. So if you click on the next slide, um, I did one lottery simulation for this one, which landed us the fourth overall pick, selecting Caleb Wilson out of UNC. Wilson now is out indefinitely as of right now due to a hand injury, I believe it was. So nothing detrimental to his draft stock. He'll be perfectly fine. I still think he goes 3 or 4 this year. But ultimately, I think that this could be a franchise-changing move. A kid who's been compared to Kevin Garnett over the past couple of months has risen from being just outside of a top 10 pick all the way into the top 4 conversation, now being considered another one of these three-headed monsters. It was the three-headed monster race this whole time, and I think now you can officially say that it's a four-headed. So, very very good pick to me. I think he by far is a high upside potential all-star in this league. The three-point shot is definitely something that could use a little bit of work, but we're also starting to see him get a bit more comfortable from spacing the floor. So, high motor, incredible defender, incredible rebounder, and extreme athleticism. That's going to be very very useful at the NBA level, especially playing alongside guards like Nolan Traore and Jaeger.
All right. Next slide.
Yes, sir. With the 35th pick, I took Juke Harris. This is probably, as of right now, my favorite second round pick. 6'7" wing out of Wake Forest. He is a sophomore. I believe he missed his entire freshman season due to an injury, but so far this season he's averaging roughly 20.7 rebounds, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Very, very good scorer, very good rebounder, and again another high motor defender. To me, this year the theme of the Nets draft, as long as the picks land where we want them, should be based on wings and athleticism. This is a very dull big man draft outside of 4 options, maybe Chris Sinak Jr., Jaden Quainance, Henry Vassir, and Ade Mara, and then Flory Badunga. So there's really only 5 solid bigs. Badunga is one that I hope falls to 35, but as of right now, with the way that he's playing, he's likely to go late first round. So nonetheless, I think the Nets should be focusing on wings, athleticism, and two-way ability. So that's the theme of this kind of setup right here. But Juke Harris as a second-round pick is an incredible get. Like I said, 6'7", extremely athletic, very solid defender, incredible scorer. So I definitely think adding those two would be really nice moves to begin the retooling stage of this Nets rebuild.
All right. Next slide.
Starting off with the offseason, so I'm actually going to pull up some notes here. Prior to the draft and prior to the offseason, I have the Nets projected prior to signings at 120.6, almost 120.7 million in terms of overall cap use, which leaves them 81.5 million below the first apron. So a lot of spending money this offseason. They're projected around 40 to 50 million in cap space potentially this year, and that's just cap. That's not going closer over the cap and towards the first apron. So really good amount of spending money. The first thing that I have is accepting the team option on Josh Minott. It is a 1-year deal for 2.5 million, so nothing too expensive, but just having a very solid young upside player on a cheap expiring deal, I definitely think that the Nets should take advantage of that.
Here's the big one.
So again, this is hypothetical. This is more so of what I want to see. But to me, Michael Porter Jr., like I said earlier, is a solidified second option in this league, averaging 25.7 plus rebounds, extremely efficient from the field, extremely efficient from three, putting up career highs in points, rebounds, and assists. I think that this is a kid who could genuinely be a piece in Brooklyn long term. Of course, the expiring $40 million contract is going to be valuable. I assume that the Nets are going to look into potentially trading him this offseason if they don't land the pick that they feel gets them to that next stage of their rebuild. But ultimately, to me, I would not let him go. I'm at the point where if it's less than 4 first-round picks, I don't want to trade him. So
4. I said
4.
3. You're at 4.
I'm
Okay.
at 4. He's a better player than Mikal Bridges. I don't care what anybody
Oh,
says.
he's infinitely better than Mikal. He's not even close. Yeah.
Whether it be his time in Denver or whether it be now that he's the first option, he's done better at both roles than Mikal has when he was in Phoenix, when he was in Brooklyn, and now when he's in New York. So to me, I think that bringing back Michael Porter Jr. on an extended deal not only gives you the ability to compete without having a draft pick next year, but also gives you an opportunity to bring in a free agent that we'll get to here shortly. The deal that I have him projected at is 3 years, $115 million. I would like to see it front loaded, so this way it decreases in salary. Of course, as he gets older, the back issue could start to flare up. So I think that it's smart to front load the contract, so this way it gets down to about 32 to 33 million by that fourth and final year. And then here's the big move. So this is the big offseason move that a lot of people are expecting. There's already talks that Denver is going to potentially look to move on from Cam Johnson to free up this cap space. He is a restricted free agent, so Denver can match the contract no matter what and go further into the second apron. But as of right now, I think that there is a very high likely chance that Peyton Watson is the Nets' top target. Speculation is speculation, but MPJ has been very vocal with me, especially over on Instagram. Not in regards to Peyton Watson specifically, but there was a comment that I had posted on his return to Denver post that he had put up a couple of weeks ago, which said, "Are you recruiting P-Watt to Brooklyn?" or something along those lines, and he liked it. So to me, that kind of goes to show that he is trying to recruit him to Brooklyn. Again, it's all speculation, nothing confirmed, but to me, that's a good sign. So the deal that I have him on, it is expensive, it is an overpay, but I think for a guy like this at just 23 years old, you do what you got to do to get him here. 3 years, $80 million. Once again, a front-loaded contract, which puts him at $26.6 million for his first year, would probably drop to about $20.5 to $21.5 for that third and final year. You could potentially throw in a player option there, so this way he can opt out and get more money later on. But to me, adding Peyton Watson at his age with his upside alongside Caleb Wilson and Michael Porter Jr. is something that could be very exciting in Brooklyn next season.
I do want to address both of these. I wanted to put them together. So first, we the Porter signing. I get why we want to do it. Porter's going to have a lot of interest. Would he want to stay with the Nets? Does he believe in the Nets enough where if someone else offered him a similar contract, he would choose to stay in Brooklyn over any of the other teams that would want him?
Well, first and foremost, the year that he's expected to be a free agent is the 2027 offseason, which is already loaded with stars. A lot of teams are going to have to maneuver around their cap issues and get down to levels to where they can sign stars. So to me, I don't think he's going to be as high profile of a free agent as people think. You also have to remember, too, the Nets didn't get an offer for him that they felt was necessary to move on from him this past trade deadline. So to me, I think that you can get him back no matter what. He's been very vocal about enjoying his stay here so far and wanting to be here long term. So I think that he will definitely look into coming back to Brooklyn.
And then Peyton Watson. This is a lot of money. It is and it isn't, right? You said it's an overpay. That's not as much money as it used to be. 26.6 ain't what it used to be.
Yeah.
Denver could, in theory, match this. Can they match it in reality? Can they actually match it?
The reason why I have him at $26.6 million is because if they move on from Cam Johnson, this is still $4 million more than what Cam Johnson is currently making. So to me, that puts them in the situation to where they can't match it. I see a comment here that says Nuggets will move off of Cam Johnson to keep Watson 100%. The problem is are they in the position to where they feel that they can attach another first-round pick to dump a salary? They have no tradable first-round picks outside of a swap, to my knowledge. And to me, I don't think teams are willing to take on a Cam Johnson or a Christian Braun type of contract, knowing that they may have an option at signing a guy like Peyton Watson. So very similar situation
Well,
to
let me ask you, what is
numerous
Braun's
players in the past.
contract?
Braun's
What
contract is
what
21
is
million
Braun?
over the next 4 years. Not a good deal.
What contract do you think is better, Braun or Cam Johnson? Like, which one's more tradable? I should say, which is more
Cam
tradable?
Johnson's is definitely tradable. It's less years, similar money. But again, you're asking for a team to help Denver obtain Peyton Watson. I'm not saying Peyton Watson is of the level of Kevin
Yeah.
Durant, but in years prior where you have a big name who potentially may be on the move, teams aren't going to help you keep that player. They're going to want an opportunity to get that player. So to me, I don't see a lot of teams looking to potentially grab a Cam Johnson or a Christian Braun in favor of helping Denver keep Peyton Watson.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. Those they're just going to get rid of Cam Johnson and not take money back. It's like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, I would love this to happen. I just didn't know if it's realistic that like Denver would look at this and saying we actually can't do this. Like it would destroy us if we, because they could go into the second apron to do this further into the second apron, I suppose. But what ramifications would that be if they can't move on from Braun or Cam Johnson? Is what I'm saying. How do they do this?
I mean, it comes down to, are you willing to overpay and head further into the second apron for Watson? Or do you feel Cam Johnson and Christian Braun are equal value plus the 2 second-round picks that they're going to have this year? So, with the second-round picks they have this year, they could potentially go out and get a guy like JT Toppin, Isaiah Evans, Flory Badunga. Like, there's options out there in that 41 and 43 range that they can very well get a nice wing or, a nice guard. So, to me, it comes down to addition by subtraction. Are you willing to have 4 players at the price of Watson, or would you prefer to have, 2 players and keep Watson? So, Watson's definitely got the higher upside, but are you willing to pay the price?
All right. Continue.
So this here is just a small move to add some depth to the roster. Again, the key to this offseason is not going all in, but upgrading the roster to where you are at least a play-in team, right? The Nets do not own their first-round pick next year. It is heading to Houston. The key is to not give them a high pick. So for me, going out and signing a guy like Dean Wade on a cheap deal, a 6'9" sharpshooter, he's having an off year in terms of three-point percentage, but still, kind of fits the timeline in that 27 to 30-year-old range for a veteran that you can bring in for cheap. So 2-year team option deal. We can opt out of it for the 2027 offseason to free up that $5 million if we feel there's somebody else out there that's better to add the year after. But Dean Wade has been a name that the Nets have been linked to in years past, specifically within the trade market. I know at one point when the Nets were looking at potential Cam Thomas trades and Cam Johnson trades, this past season, last year, that Dean Wade was a guy that they had been showing interest in. So I do think that is something they'll revisit in the offseason as a vet to add for depth purposes.
All right. Now we have this trade, which I thought was interesting, to say the least.
A lot of people are going to think it's unrealistic, and I can agree because of the names that are mentioned. But when you look at OKC's situation and Lou Dort's production this current season, I do think that there is a chance that they look to salary dump him. All 3 of the players that are in this trade are on team option deals, and OKC is in a position now where SGA's $60+ million extension and then Jalen Williams and Chet's $40+ million extensions all come into play next season. So they will be well over the second apron, which is why rumors about Hartenstein and Dort potentially being traded or declined for their team options is on the table. They are going to have to try and maneuver around that second apron so this way they don't get penalized too heavily. And I think that they could utilize Dort as a salary dump to add, 2 cheaper players who are younger and that also fit the mold of which they're looking for. OKC has been rumored to have interest in Day'Ron Sharpe as well.
And if you had to keep one of the 2, either Dort or Hartenstein, Hartenstein's more valuable to them, is he not?
I think so. I mean, especially because of Chet not being a traditional sized big man
Right.
in terms of weight. you've got Thomas Sorber coming back from an ACL tear. You don't know how he's going to be fully as a
Oh, that's
backup
right.
just yet.
God dang it!
So
You're right.
I think,
I totally
yeah,
forgot about that.
I know. I think it's smart for them to grab a backup big and keep Hartenstein for one final season. Whether they trade Hartenstein at the deadline or if they let him expire next offseason,
Next year, yeah.
it's a win-win for them regardless. Their championship window is still there, and that gives Sorber at least another year to get some NBA minutes, get used to everything, get a feel for how he's going to be able to play now that he's had a torn ACL, things like that. So I do think it's smart for them to go out and get a backup big on a cheap deal that they could also look to bring back in the offseason as a replacement for Hartenstein.
Here's the other trade.
And then another salary dump move.
Explain this. Why am I making this trade?
So KCP is on a player option deal this offseason. He's not going to decline $21.5 million. That's just stupid on his end. He's never going to get a contract like that moving forward. To me, I threw in the second-round pick for Memphis, but I do think that the Nets would potentially have to throw in seconds for this. It just really depends on what Memphis is looking to do. Man will be on a 2-year deal starting next season, so they will have him for an additional 2 years. KCP is on an expiring contract. The main reason for this, and if you looked at what I've done so far, is Dort would be an expiring contract for us, and so would KCP. That already frees up over $36 million for the 2027 offseason. The Nets could potentially look to move off of Claxton for an expiring contract later on next season. So there's room to where the Nets could free up a certain amount of money to where they can go out and sign a star in the 2027 offseason to pair with Caleb Wilson, Michael Porter Jr., Yegor, and Nolan Traore.
And Memphis is doing this just to save the $6 million, whatever that is?
Yeah.
That's why they're doing. Okay. I could see that. I mean, yeah, I could see that. Who's a better basketball player between these two? Is it KCP still? I mean, he's been pretty bad.
KCP's floor spacing is still, I think, a little bit more valuable than what Man brings, but I think Man is a better defender and a better playmaker. So Man as an all-around player, I think, is slightly better, especially at his current age. KCP is definitely the better floor spacer. And then this year is just what the final roster would look like heading into next season. So my projected starting lineup would be Yegor at the 1, Peyton Watson at the 2, MPJ at the 3, Caleb Wilson at the 4, and Nick Claxton at the 5. First 5 off the bench would be Traore, Dort, Powell, Clowney, and Danny Wolf. And then the last 5 off the bench would be Ben Seraph, Dean Wade, KCP, Josh Minott, and Juke Harris. So a lot of versatility, a lot of depth. They could look to potentially keep Seraph in the G League to start next season just to give him some more growth. Same thing for Juke Harris. Same thing for Minott. So there's definitely room for, if injuries occur, you still have serviceable role players coming off your bench. Dort, I think, would be a great addition, though, just based on the fact that he is very similar to what Drake Powell could be in this league. So in terms of mentorship from a veteran, I think that he's the perfect addition to add to help Powell grow his game.
This is not terrible, right? Like, okay, the tank is over, where our pick is done. How do you feel? I mean, this is not a great roster, obviously, but it's not terrible, right? Like, this is not going to compete for a title anytime soon.
No.
But we have some good pieces here. You have your 2 building blocks. You have your Michael Porter Jr. Depending on, like, if Caleb Wilson becomes the number 1 option, you're in great shape here. Like, yeah. But so 26, 27, I say this is what we're moving forward with. How many wins would you project? Assuming everyone stays relatively healthy.
I think this would be an 8th or 9th seed in the East. I think you have to remember that
win something like that.
I'd say like 35 to 37.
All right, I understand. Yeah, okay.
But realistically, if you think about it, you can't really base some of the players based on their rookie years. You have to think of the second-year leaps, right?
For sure.
Joman should be, taking a leap. Traore should be taking a leap. You've got Wilson, who midway through the season could likely take a leap. Peyton Watson in a more expanded role in Brooklyn with a more consistent role could take a leap. So there's definitely options here where players could succeed very early or, midway through the season to help catapult the Nets into a play-in spot. I definitely think Charlotte is going to be a better team than us. I do think that a team like Atlanta, depending on the draft pick that they get this year, could potentially be better than us. But I do think the Nets could very well compete with a team like Miami if they don't make any major additions this offseason.
Yeah, I would say this is probably a playing team because you're better than Miami. You're better than Chicago. Atlanta. I like Atlanta coming into the season, but nothing's really worked out for Atlanta other than Jalen Johnson. Like, You'd be there with Atlanta. I think you'd probably be a little below them. I would say a 9 or a 10 seed, but I think you're a playing team with what you have here.
Yeah.
And that's not where I wanted to be, but it is a step forward. And like again, you have nothing but time with Yegor, Caleb Wilson, and now like it looks like Trey is, going to be, a piece as well. And then you got Watson, who's still 23, whatever you said he was.
Mm-hmm.
You got time here. Michael Porter Jr. is still reasonably young. He's still on the right side of 30 at least, right? Like, so you got plenty of time here. I don't mind this. This is not ideal, but it's not bad either. This is okay. Like, if you would have said to me 2 years ago, at the end of this 2-year tank, this is what we're going to have. Okay. It's not terrible. I can live with this.
Yeah. And I mean, and realistically too, if the team's overachieving and they look to be a high-end play-in team or a borderline playoff team, you could look to package up Clowney, Claxton, Ben Seraph, and KCP's expiring contract plus picks to go out there for a star. So you have the flexibility in terms of player assets as well as draft capital to go out there and make a move mid-season if you are starting to excel.
And okay, well, here's just a quick recap of everything we got.
Yeah, just to recap, the Nets would be, under $21.5 million of the first apron, so still a lot of flexibility, especially with the expiring contracts on here. Say that the Nets don't make any moves, at the trade deadline, if this was the rotation, between Dort and KCP's expiring contracts, add $37 million to that $21 million. Now you're in position to offer a $50+ million contract to a superstar. So a lot of flexibility, whether it be through the trade market or through free agency.
And there are your 26, 27 Brooklyn Nets. It's not terrible. It's not a bad roster. You don't look at that roster like this roster. You go, oh my God, my eyes are bleeding, right? Like it looks like a formidable NBA. Again, it's not going to compete with the Knicks. It's not going to compete with Cleveland. Is Cleveland going to win the East, Dylan?
I think Cleveland's now at the point where they'll win the East. Yes, the additions they made was key. I do see them losing in the finals and then adding LeBron and winning the finals with LeBron for his last season, though. That's my way too early.
How are they getting LeBron though?
Minimum contract. His income for retirement based on I had read something that like if he was to do a retirement tour and like announce it, he actually gets compensation from the league based on the views. So he could be making an additional $60 to $70 million just from that. So if he signs a minimum, he's still making supermax contract.
I want to give you a boxing analogy. De La Hoya's last fight, he fought Pacquiao, and he took short money to fight Pacquiao. And everyone was like, why did you take short money? And then he took all of the additional pay-per-view revenue, and that thing did record-breaking pay-per-view. So he ended up making a career-high purse off taking short money and then taking all the pay-per-view revenue. It's a similar thing of which LeBron would be doing. It's a similar concept. I'll take short money up front, but I'm going to take all the money in the back end.
Yeah. You also have to remember too the levels of endorsements and business and equity that he has in certain things. He's still making over like $300 million a year. It doesn't matter if he signs a minimum. Between his tequila brand, between his Nike deal, between the little things that he does with like DraftKings and things like that, he's still making a shit ton of money. So I don't think that it's necessarily going to come down to money in terms of what team he chooses next. I think it's going to be where he feels he can win a championship in his final year. And as currently constructed, I think that's Cleveland.
I agree. And I always saw him finishing his last season with Cleveland. I just thought it would have been done this past year.
Yeah.
But if he plays one more year, I do think he was glad to know how Cleveland could do that. You're telling he could take a league minimum deal. I would push back on that a little bit. He's obviously an egomaniac. We saw what he did the other day with the triple-double. Is he actually going to take a vet minimum deal? Is he actually going to?
I think so.
Ego allow him to do that?
My early prediction is vet minimum back to Cleveland, where he will finish his career on a championship. He's not going to be a second or third option. I think he will take the backseat, similar to how D. Wade took the backseat when LeBron went to Miami. But being able to play alongside Harden on an expiring deal, I think he'll opt into his contract. Then you've got, Mitchell still there, Mobley, depending on what they do with Jared Allen. They've still got depth pieces that they could sign, like Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. They still got Max Strus as of right now. I'm assuming they'd look to move off of him in the offseason to free up a little bit of space. But they still have players. Sam Merrill is there. So they've got a lot of talent. And I think that LeBron is 100% heading over there in the offseason on that league minimum.
All right. You ready to get into the mock draft?
Let's do it. And yes, Nick, a 33 to 36 win team is an upgrade. anything better than a year prior is an upgrade. So this isn't supposed to be you're a bottom 5 team in the league and you go to being the best team in the league by next year. It took Detroit 2 years building through the draft. It took OKC 2 years through building with the draft. It took San Antonio 2 years with building through the draft, even with Cleveland. So this is how this works. You have to stop expecting greatness immediately.
Start the draft.
Do the create view lotto sim. We got to do one lotto sim live. Let's see if they've updated it. They have. So we are at 4. One lottery simulation. Everyone knows the rules. Let's see. Oh, we're not top 4. I saw it. Oh,
7.
All right, and there's Dallas and OKC. What a fucking joke.
Yeah, this is something the NBA would do, so this is realistic.
And Indiana loses the pick to yeah, and Indiana loses the pick to the Clippers, so good for them. I don't know if we'll do any trades.
You want to sim it again? I mean, this.
No, one lottery simulation. We make it as realistic as possible. We make it as realistic as possible. We'll see if we'll do any trades. This isn't my official mock draft. I've already completed that. That's already being written, so it should drop before Sunday. It was conducted yesterday, so don't look at the second round pick rankings and things like that as if it's fully accurate. I'll put that in there, but I will be dropping that here before the end of the weekend. That'll be volume 8. So 8th mock draft.
This is as bad as we can go. We can't go beyond 7, right? That's the worst.
No, furthest we can go down is 8 if you're the 4th pick.
Oh, 4th. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, 7th pick, you've still got Flemings, Mikal Brown, Nate Ament, Keaton Wagler, Darius Acuff. Like, there is a range of players there that still have star potential. So to me, if there's a draft to screw up in terms of lottery luck, this is it. Like, I'm not angry with it.
All right, you ready to hit that mock draft?
Let's do it.
Mock draft. All right.
Let's do it. You will see that my big board is updated as well. I am being very critical of Darren Peterson, so you'll see that here as well. But let's get started. Dallas is on the clock
again.
Yeah, it's almost like when you trade a superstar, the league rewards you. It really comes down to what they believe Cooper Flagg is going to be in this league. Whether he is going to be a point forward, if he is going to be a small forward, if he is going to be a power forward. To me, I think that he is best suited as a small forward. With the return of Kyrie Irving, I don't necessarily think they go out and get a superstar guard. But there is also questions surrounding Peterson's ability, whether or not he is a point guard or a shooting guard. In his last, I believe, 84 minutes of play, he has 1 assist. He has not been great. There has been a lot of question marks surrounding him, specifically with taking himself out of games, and I do think that GMs are going to start taking that into account as to whether or not he is serious about the game of basketball. There's no denying that he is easily the most skilled player in this draft with the highest upside, but I do see him causing a little bit of problems in choosing where he wants to go. I do think Dallas would be a team that he would choose, but it ultimately comes down to if they believe Kyrie coming back from the ACL injury and Flagg's second-year upgrade is going to be good enough to get them back into that playoff contention. So for me, I am going to have them select A.J. Dembonsta at number 1, and we are going to have Cooper Flagg playing the 4 over in Dallas. So Dembonsta is now my new number 1 overall prospect.
Yeah, Peterson down at 4. All right.
Yep. At number 2, Memphis. Again, another small organization in terms of market. They are dealing with a lot of issues in terms of blowing things up. They've moved off of Desmond Bane last offseason. They moved off of Jaren Jackson this trade deadline. Ja Morant still there. Who knows if he ends up getting dealt this offseason. To me, I think that you kind of just have to go best player available. And that would be Peterson in my eyes, but at the same time, I think that you've got Boozer here, who is a bit more of a safer pick, especially for a team that's looking to rebuild. The problem is we have Sacramento at 4 here, and I don't think Peterson would go there. So I am going to have Peterson go number 2 here. I did drop him down a little bit further than this in my mock draft. I'm not going to give away where I had him go, but I will have him go there at number 2 to Memphis. And then OKC, the gift that keeps on fucking giving. I can't stand this.
Imagine this, like, God dang it. Who are they taking? Who's a better basketball player?
It's a no-brainer pick for me for them. They already have their superstars. You need the safest pick possible who still has a high ceiling, and that to me is Cam Boozer.
Agreed.
Boozer's build, I think, fits really well with Chet to where you can play Boozer at the 4, but have him be the primary rebounder while Chet spaces the floor. So I think that that's a great addition for him. I mean, anything in this draft is a great addition for him. It doesn't matter. They're already a contending team. So with Sacramento here at number 4, I will have them go Caleb Wilson. I think that this just makes the most sense. I still think they need a guard, but if you land 4, you go best available, and that still to me is Wilson.
All right. Up now is the Clippers.
Yeah,
This
it's a
is
strange
interesting.
pick because they just got Garland. They did just get Mathurin. They really don't have a big that's going to be too helpful. But at the same time, you're not over picking on Jaden Quainance, who has barely played this season and
I was
hasn't
going to
looked
say
good.
that. Like the only big is Jaden Quainance. Would they do that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I still think you're taking best available, especially with how the league is about to go about the Kawhi Leonard situation. There are talks that they may, void his contract to where the Clippers can't trade him. So he may be a free agent this year, depending on how the league decides to punish them. So for me, you've got to go highest upside here, and I think that there is a real chance that comes down to Mikal Brown Jr. or Nate Ament. It depends on who they feel fits best with Garland and
You put
Benedict
Nate Ament
Mathurin.
as a better prospect. Forget the position for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Just Nate Ament as a better prospect than Kingston Flemings.
To me, I base my draft boards off of upside. So to me, you've got a 6'10 forward who has put on weight, who has improved tremendously in his last 10 games in college. To me, especially with him previously being the 4th-ranked prospect in this draft and being debated as potentially going number 1 in this year's class prior to the college basketball season, I do believe that he does have the higher upside than Flemings. I think Flemings is a more complete player as of right now, but in terms of superstar versus all-star potential, I still think Ament edges him out in that aspect.
All right. So are they taking Ament here? Is that what they're doing?
It's tough. I mean, the Clippers are in a rebuild at this point, especially depending on what happens with Kawhi. The question is, do they feel Mikal Brown can play off ball as a 2? Because he is 6'5". So you've got Garland as your 1. You'd have Mathurin as your 3. It depends. I mean, to me, I think you go best available, and for that, I'm going to have them go Mikal Brown.
Okay. The Hawks with the so it was Derek Queen for this. Let's see who wins this trade.
So
yeah.
To me, you just moved on from Trae Young. I think point guard is definitely the biggest position of need over in Atlanta. And the Nets are also notorious for getting the player that they want taken right before them. So I am going to have them select Kingston Flemings here at 7. The Nets have been rumored and confirmed to be showing tremendous interest in Flemings.
At 6. Yeah,
we're going to have Flemings go at 6. The Nets, Eric Slater had somebody from No Ceilings on their podcast not too long ago to where he confirmed that the Nets are showing tremendous interest in Flemings if they were to land outside of the top 4. So to me, it makes sense for Atlanta to go with a point guard with high upside. His two-way ability is tremendous at 6'4". He reminds me a lot of a combination between Derrick Rose and Jalen Brunson. So I think that he's going to have a very good career in the NBA.
All right, we're up at 7.
And again, I think the Nets make a pick that some people are going to be iffy about, but again, it's based on highest upside, and that is going to be Nate Ament. Ament has been comped prior to his college basketball career as Michael Porter Jr., and if people remember Michael Porter Jr. before his back injury in college, he was the number 1 overall prospect. So to me, adding a 6'10" wing next to a 6'10" wing is going to be a very interesting duo for next season.
It is interesting to have a 6'8" point guard, a 6'10" wing, a 6'10" wing, right? And then Claxton at the 5. It's athletic. It's extremely long. It's pretty good. It's interesting. You still have an issue at the 2, but this is interesting, right? Like to have 6'8", 6'10", 6'10", 6'11", all in your starting lineup, and we haven't addressed the 2 guards yet. It does give you an identity. They're going to be freakishly long, for sure.
I mean, imagine adding Peyton Watson to this, where you have Yeager at the 1, Watson at the 2, Nate at the 3. MPJ at the 4, Claxton at the 5. You have 6'8" to 6'11" is your smallest to highest in terms of height. That brings
Right,
a lot
and
of
that's what
versatility.
I was saying about smaller guards. So the Knicks are playing the Nets. Who's Jalen Brunson guarding? I'll wait.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Trae Young, they're playing Washington. Who's Trae Young guarding?
Yeah.
There's
There's going to be a lot of mismatches for sure.
All right, Washington. Speak of the devil, Washington is up.
Such a shitty spot for him because it just really doesn't make sense for either of these players.
I don't think it's shitty for them. I think they're in a fine spot because you have one center. They can go big. I don't think this is.
I don't have Quaintance going here.
Okay.
I think you still have to go best available for them, but the problem is it comes down to
you can't because you already invested in trade. You got to take Acuff.
Well, depending on if they feel if they feel Bub Carrington is the backup point guard of the future for him, then maybe they look away from Acuff. But at the same time, you have to base this on how long is Trae Young truly staying there? Will he sign an extension with them, or will he opt out and leave to go somewhere else? Right. Then you also have on the other hand Keaton Wagler, who at 6'6" could play the 2, could play the 3. You know, they just drafted Trey Johnson, so there's a bit of an issue there in terms of grabbing him. To me, they go best available. I still think they go Acuff here.
We are valuing Jaden Quintance very differently, my friend.
Yes.
But all right.
I am. Listen,
right.
5 points, 5 rebounds in minimal games this season with a torn ACL that has clearly shown a decrease in terms of overall production. To me, I don't see the upside in him that much right now. I think this is a very dull big man class.
And our best friends are back up.
Such assholes. To me, they have to trade this pick, right? You have Dort, you have Hartenstein on team options. If you bring them back, you're also adding a 3rd overall pick contract, which is going to be between 8 to 11 million. They can't afford to keep this pick. So, who is trading is the question. And I think if you look at teams with draft capital,
remember, like you mentioned before, they're also bringing Sorber back next year.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that was a guy we liked a lot last year. I know the injury, a year off, but like you would figure he's going to at least go right into the rotation.
Yeah. Listen, it may be a little bit unrealistic for this, but let's have a little fun. Why not? We're going to have Brooklyn make a trade here for the 9th pick. Again, is it realistic that this happens? Probably not. I mean, if you're looking at teams with draft capital around the league, you've got Memphis that can move up and do this. You have Brooklyn, you have Utah. There's a couple of teams out there that could very well make this move. But for this case, we're going to have the Nets take on the number 9 overall pick, and the Nets are going to send out 3 future first-round picks.
3 future ones from BK to OKC. All right, and then send this here, and that's it. Okay,
that's it. And with that, I'm going to have them select Keaton Wagler.
Keaton Wagler, yep.
I think that, I mean, listen, if there's a real world where the Nets walk away with Wagler and Ament, sign me up. That, to me, is perfection.
I mean, yeah, if we can walk away with that, I mean, we've changed our franchise. If that draft actually happened, OKC can't sit and pick these guys. It's not realistic. Yeah. Like they have to make a trade. We have capital. We have draft capital. We have cap space. Like we have what's required to make this trade, right? Yeah. So I would rather trade for Wagler than trade for a superstar, right? Yeah. Like, yeah.
I mean, to me, I would give them the Denver first round pick in 2032. I would put a protection on it, maybe top 4.
Yeah.
I would give them the Knicks 2029. Again, make that maybe top 10 protected. And then I would give them one of ours unprotected in like 2031 or 2030. Because I think by then we'll be a good team. So to me, I think that's the deal that you go out and try and make. But again, hypothetical, very unrealistic as of right now. But if the lottery was to land like this, like you said, OKC can't take 2 top 10 picks. They can't afford it. So I think that it would be... I mean, listen, if you miss out on the top 4, but you walk away with Keaton Wagler and Nate Ament, you've done something right.
Absolutely. All right. Chicago.
This is where I'm going to have Quaintance go. They need a big. Vucevic is gone. They need a big badly. So the upside on Quaintance is there, But to me, I think Chicago is the best fit for him by far.
They have Koa Pete listed here at 6'8". Well, see what he gets measured at in the combine. Is Koa Pete really a 5 in the NBA? Yeah,
No.
I didn't think so.
He's
either.
an Aaron Gordon to me. I think he's a 4, but he's an Aaron Gordon type of player. I don't see a lot of upside in his game. I think he's going to be an extremely valuable role player, but I don't think that he's got tremendous upside.
All right. Milwaukee's up at 11. They have Cam Thomas. I don't know what else they would possibly need.
Who?
So, number 24. The
hell's
player
that guy?
who number 24.
I think if you're trying to keep Giannis happy, you need the point guard of the future. I think you need a guy that's going to give you high upside, and I think you go LeBaron Filan here. He's by far a top 10 prospect in my eyes. I think he's got the higher upside than Quaintance as of right now, just in terms of college production, but it's tough to have him go ahead of Quaintance just because of the team that was ahead. So Filan at 11 to Milwaukee, I think that's a great fit for him.
And Charlotte's on the clock now. This is an interesting pick. Because, what do they do ultimately with LaMelo Ball? Is LaMelo Ball in Charlotte long term? If not, they need a point guard.
I think if all of these selections are gone, then yes, he's there next year for sure. To me, if Acuff, Filan, or Flemings is on the board and they're in a position to take him, they'll take him. But with how the board's looking currently, I don't see them drafting high on a guy like Christian Anderson. Scroll down a little bit. I want to see who I have in that 19 through 25 range, potentially going with somebody different. No. So, yeah, I'm going to have them select Chris Sinek Jr. here. The stats don't show the full story as to what his upside is, but at 6'11", being able to space the floor the way that he does, I think that's a major addition for him. And power forward seems to be the biggest thing that they're looking for now that they have LaMelo, Kneppel, and Brandon Miller as their solidified, 1 through 3. I think Kalkbrenner and Moussa Diabate are great in terms of center depth. I don't think you need necessarily, a top 5 player at that position, but those two are very serviceable in being able to get them to where they need to be. So I think adding a floor spacer at that height with his shot blocking ability is very valuable.
All right, who's up next?
San Antonio. So this is going to be a little weird. I have Koa Pete much less in terms of draft stock right now than I did previously, and you'll see that in a second. But there is one player who has been speculated as a potential lottery pick. We all know that once a year there is one player that goes in the lottery that nobody expected. And that, for me, I'm going to have them take Patrick Ngamba here. 6'11" center. I do think that they need some form of center depth, especially with when Wemby does get injured once every year. It happens. But I think Ngamba still has tremendous upside in terms of his overall ability as a true center. So adding that to their depth, I think, is a nice move.
The final lottery pick goes to Portland.
And this is a tough spot because I do feel Braden Burris is a lottery pick as of right now with the way that he has played. But at the same time, it comes down to, will they be able to move off of Jeremy Grant? How do they think Dame Lillard is coming back? What are you going to do with Drew Holiday and Scoot Henderson? Because your guard room is pretty hefty. I'll have them go Pete here, just because I think they could use some wing depth, but I don't think he's the highest upside player still on the board.
And what's better than having one 6'8" center? Having two 6'8" centers.
I would see him playing the 4.
4, yeah.
I would see him playing the 4.
No, I agree. Golden State. This is interesting. I mean, you do have to start building for life after Draymond and Steph. Is that what they do here?
Yes and no. I think you kind of just have to go with the highest upside player on the board currently, but you also have to remember how they make selections. It's very, very similar every year. I'm in between Thomas Haw right now and then Braylon Mullins and Braden Burris. I think that there is a need for them to be win now because of the age of Steph, Butler, and Draymond. But at the same time, do they look to pivot and go with upside? They do have a second-round pick, but ultimately I think they're very stuck in their ways with trying to help, Steph succeed late in his career. So I'm going to have them select Thomas Haw. a
Yeah.
guy who's won a national championship, averaging 17 points. He's a very good rebounder, very good defender, very good floor spacer. So to me, I think they look to add a win now piece.
Miami is on the clock.
And again, tough spot. Do they keep Tyler Hero? Do they feel Norman Powell is more of a one or a two? Do they feel Braylon Mullins and Braden Burries is a one or a two? I think that you kind of have to go a bit out of the ordinary for what they select, but at the same time, they're another team like Golden State that selects the same style player every time. I don't think Mullins and Burries can be on the board much longer, so I am going to have them select Mullins here, 6'6", great floor spacer. Again, I think this is kind of similar to like the Liam McNeely of this year's draft, but just a little bit more higher upside. So I think that he could be the potential Tyler Hero replacement for him.
Memphis Grizzlies are up next.
And I'm going to have them go with another guard. I think that they do move on from Ja Morant this offseason. So having Peterson at the 1 and then putting Braden Burries at the 2, I think that could be the guard room for them moving forward. So I'm going to have Braden Burries. Yep.
Your boy?
My guy.
You still got Christian Anderson on the board.
Yes, we do.
Oklahoma City is somehow picking it again.
It's ridiculous. And again, it's a strange pick because there isn't really much out there for them in terms of position of need. I don't think they go with a guy like Lopez. I don't think they go with Anderson. They just got Boozer, so I don't see them going with Steinbeck or Lendeborg. I'm going to have them trade the pick again. But I am going to have it go to a team that is looking at Bennett Sturts. If we aren't familiar with Sturts and what he's been doing over the past 10 games, it's been absolutely ridiculous. Multiple 25-plus point games, incredible playmaker. And for a team that needs him, I'm looking... I mean, it depends on the team, really. But if you scroll down to teams who don't currently have any first-round picks left, who is that?
Sacramento, Chicago, Memphis, Brooklyn, San Antonio, the Clippers, Washington, Orlando, Phoenix, Golden State, Houston, Indiana, Miami, Milwaukee, NOLA, Portland, Utah.
Again, it may be a bit unrealistic, but I'm going to have Miami make a trade here. Trade a future first-round pick, protected, for number 18, and we're going to have them go and get Bennett Sturts.
First round or two. OKC for number 18. Okay. Pick. And they're taking Sturts, you said, yeah?
Yeah. This puts them in position to where you can keep Mullins on the bench as a backup to give him more time to develop. But you also now have a serviceable playmaker and facilitator in Bennett Sturts alongside should not be all-star Norman Powell and Bam Adebayo. So to me, I think that's a really good get for them.
All right, we got Charlotte back on the board. They just took Sanak at 12. Christian Anderson is still on the board.
And that's who I'm going to have them go with here. I think that they could use a backup point guard, especially depending on what they look to do with Trey Mann this offseason. There was already rumors that he could potentially be a salary dump move for him. So I do think grabbing a high-intense two-way guard, especially with his playmaking ability, his floor spacing ability, I think that's a great get for them, especially if they look to move on from LaMelo at some point in the near future.
I have Toronto. Two guys I'm looking at for Toronto, but I'll let you run with this. There's two guys I'm looking at.
I think it's a no-brainer pick for him. I think it's Steinbeck. They need a big. They need a big badly. Jakob Poeltl on a 5-year deal is going to hurt them a lot. So I think they do need to get a guy that's going to be serviceable for them, high upside. I mean, Steinbeck to me is a lottery pick, but with how he's being valued in a lot of drafts, mock drafts, they just aren't valuing him as much as I do. So again, I'm trying to keep it realistic in terms of where players could be selected, but ultimately I think Steinbeck could be a potential Isaiah Hartenstein in the league.
Detroit's up. This guy I like a lot. Now you have him a little lower, but let's see if he goes here. I think
I'm between Yaxel and Tunde, and the reason for this is you've got Tobias and Herter on expiring deals. Those are one shooting guard, one power forward, and of course Yaxel's a power forward, Tunde's a shooting guard. Um, it depends on who they value more. I think Yaxel's more NBA ready and would help them continue being a top team in the East. But I also think Tunde's upside alongside Cade could be very interesting. I do think that Detroit is very particular with what they're going to be adding this year, and I don't see them bringing back Tobias potentially, but I do see them bringing back Herter. And now that they have Duncan Robinson as well, I really don't see a need to fill up more wings. So I'm going to have them go Yaxel here. I think that he could be an immediate impact player over in Detroit and fits the mold of how they play.
The Lakers, who you have losing LeBron James to the Cavs. Where do we go here?
This is where I'm going to have Tunde go. I think that if you're looking for upside purposes, this here is a tremendous fit. And he's also opposite of what Luka is, right? Luka is very goofy, slow-paced, but very good decision maker for the most part, incredible scorer. Tunde is more of the athletic two-way guard. And I think having a player that can help defensively like that alongside Luka is key.
We move on to Denver at 23. They're going to have an interesting decision here.
Yeah, it's this is honestly a really good spot to be.
Is this where my boy goes? Is this where my boy goes?
That was a thought. I have it right now between Lopez, Carr, and Swain. I think with Denver again being another team that's on that older side, and especially with what's going to happen with Peyton Watson this offseason, I do think that this is where they could get his replacement if they feel that they can't bring him back. Carr's got the scoring ability, Swain's got the two-way ability, Lopez has the upside. But again, for a team that's competing in the West right now, Jokic is not going to be getting any younger. Same with Jamal Murray, same with Aaron Gordon. I think they go Swain here.
The Knicks.
It's a strange pick. I'm not a fan of him. People love him. I'll have them take a day, Mara. I think that they need a big. There's going to be a lot of conversation as to whether or not Karl Anthony Towns is back in New York next year. And I think that drafting a guy who can, be a paint presence, be a solid rebounder, be efficient inside the paint, and also being a very solid playmaker, I think that they take him without a doubt.
And then Atlanta's back on the board at 25.
I'm not sure how I trust Atlanta in terms of overall scoring ability. CJ McCollum's an expiring contract. I don't expect him to be back in Atlanta next year. Onyeka Okongwu could potentially look to be traded. But at the same time, I think that they're going to be looking at scoring ability primarily. Richeche could be another trade candidate this upcoming offseason for a star. I'm going to have them take Cameron Carr. Best available scorer on the board outside of Tyler Tanner, but after taking Flemings, they don't need a point guard. So I'll have Atlanta go Cameron Carr here.
Beauty.
It's such a weird spot for Philly. Because I mean, they don't need a point guard. They don't need a shooting guard. Paul George still under contract. Quentin Grimes they could look to bring back. Who's their backup big? It's Bana, right? Adem Bana or Bona, whatever his name
Philly?
is. Yeah.
It's Drummond.
Yeah, but they also have Bona. Yeah, okay. So I mean, their center depth is so realistically they kind of need a power forward. I think they go Joshua Jefferson here, especially hoping that Edgecombe takes the leap, potentially bringing back Grimes. The health of Paul George and Joel Embiid, Maxey, entering superstar caliber. Joshua Jefferson is by far the best all-around player still left on the board. Brings immediate impact as a guy who's played multiple years in college, but he's also a very good scorer, rebounder, and playmaker. Very similar to Yaxel Lendeborg, just minus the athleticism.
The Celtics at 27.
Again, weird pick, but I do think that they could use a bit of spark off the bench. I'm between Tyler Tanner and Henry Vassir here, but I do think that point guard could be something as a back position that could use a lot of work. They got rid of Anthony Simons. Who knows if he looks to return there in the offseason. Nikola Vucevic is a free agent this year. But it also comes down to, will they potentially look to move on from Derek White to create more flexibility in terms of free agency and overall depth that they can add to the lineup? So I'm going to have them take Tyler Tanner. He's been one of college basketball's most impressive
Yeah.
scorers, averaging 18 plus. Very, very solid all around player. The height's going to be an issue in the league at 6 foot, but I do think that he can be a very good Boston Celtic, unfortunately.
The Cavs at 28.
Again, strange spot to be in. Um, I mean, Lopez is still on the board. The upside is there. Juke Harris is still here. Ryan Conwell, Maurice Johnson, Vasir. It comes down to, I think, the wing position. With LeBron coming in, most likely, I'll say, and potentially Strus on his way out. I do think that they can take a high upside swing here for a guy who may not play his first year, but I'm going to have them go Kareem Lopez. Um,
Has
I
come
think
off
that
something.
listen, if you're
Yeah.
playing next to LeBron, Sam Merrill, and some of those wings that they have over there, it makes a lot of sense to go with the swing pick. They already have the depth to contend, so you might as well go with a guy that can have some high upside and a potential late first round steal.
All right, so Dallas is up. They took Kareem Lopez already. Wait,
Mhm.
no. Wait, who did they take? We had Dallas.
DeBonsta.
Oh, AJ DeBonta. That's right. That's right. They got the number 1 pick. That's right.
So with having that wing, I
Okay.
do think that they need a
Okay.
big, and there's no better pick out there than Vasir here at 29. I think that is an incredible big man get for them, depending on if they look to move off of Lively or Gafford. At 7 foot, very, very well-rounded big man. Another player that reminds me a lot of Hartenstein.
And then the Timberwolves to close out the first round with a pick from Detroit.
Tough spot. I mean, you know what? I'm gonna switch it up here. I'm gonna enter him in my first round. He isn't in my first round on my newest mock draft, but with the way the board's falling, I don't hate the idea of Ibuka Okori here. Going with a point guard that can give you a bit of playmaking and scoring, averaging 22.5 points so far in college as a freshman. The upside's there, and depending on
I thought you were gonna say Juke. I thought you were gonna give him Juke Harris.
I was thinking about it, but I
Yeah.
don't think that he would go before Ibuka if a team was to look to grab somebody in the with the final pick of the first round. I think Juke is a guaranteed second round pick. Ibuka could be early second, late first, depending on which teams are up. But with how the board fell, I think Ibuka there at 30 is a great get.
So here we are. Nate Ament, Keaton Wagler. It's not bad. I'm content with it for us.
It's
And
a fucking
here's
great get.
yeah. Here's your first round. We went through this pretty quickly. We got this all done in under an hour. We went through this quickly.
Oh yeah, speed tour.
Yeah. Well done, Dylan. Well done.
Why,
Well
thank
done.
you.
Anything else you want to close with?
Keep losing. Keep losing.
Wait,
We've got
oh.
the Pacers and the Wizards playing once again today. We've got the Bucks playing the Pelicans. If there's a world where the Pelicans and Wizards can win, then that puts us a half a game behind 3. So that to me is the goal for tonight. Indiana's clearly tanking. I hope that the league screws them and gives the pick to the Clippers. But at the same time, the Clippers are under investigation with Kawhi and potentially being punished heavily. So
Yeah.
that pick's probably staying in Indiana.
All right. They're going to keep losing. I don't think there's any catching Sacramento. I don't think but Sacramento may never win ever again.
No, they may not. They genuinely may lose the last 20 games of the season.
So keep that in mind. I do think too. I think we're going to be second in the Tankathon standings, and I think we're going to pick 5th. That's my hunch.
I think we're picking 4th, and I think we're getting one of Boozer or Wilson.
Wilson. That would 4 and 5 is night and day difference. So I'm hoping you're right. Why can't we just pick 1 or 2? Like that would be the best.
In all honesty, I want 3 or 4. I would rather get who drops. Because again, this is a 4-headed race. Say Peterson does decide to tank his draft stock and try and pick the team that he goes to. Okay, if he's there at 3, you take him. Say you're at 4. Okay, I get the team that didn't take Boozer or Wilson. I would almost rather be in that position just so this way I know that I'm getting somebody without making the mistake of potentially selecting somebody over the other. Similar to how Boston did with Tatum and then when they had the 3rd pick for Brown, right? Everybody thought that Lonzo, Markelle Fultz, those types of guys were going to be better than the Tatums and the Browns. Turned out being Brown and Tatum as the best players in that draft, both selected at 3. So I wouldn't hate the idea of Brooklyn picking at 3 or 4, and even if they get number 1, potentially trading back to 3 or 4.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, who would you if the Nets got one? You would take who would you take? Devanza?
It's so hard. Like it's a really tough decision because again, there's 4 players who genuinely are number 1 overall worthy. As of right now, I think the guy that I like the most is Wilson and Debansta. The only thing that scares me with the number 1 pick is, are you making the wrong mistake by selecting Debansta or Peterson? Is Peterson going to be a bust because of his attitude and his work ethic? Is Debansta going to be a bust because he hasn't played incredibly against top-tier teams in college? Right? He had a very good showing against Arizona, but he also struggled against Kansas and some other teams in the past. So it's a big worry for me. Boozer is the safest pick because I don't think that he has the highest upside out of all 4 of the players, but I do think that he has the highest floor. So I do think he'll be the most consistent. So it's tough. I'm happy with one of the 4. I really don't care, but I think as of right now, the one that I'm leaning towards is either 3 or 4, and I would hope at that spot getting Debansta or Wilson.
All right. So here, Dylan, I gotta wrap up because I gotta take a leak bad.
Yes, sir.
When do you want to be back?
We'll figure it out. I gotta check which days I got available here coming up, but I got my move-in date for the 7th, so we will be a bit busy that week leading up to that. So
no doubt. All right, appreciate it, Dylan. You guys got your first round mock. You got your off-season mock. We've created a brand new roster for the Nets, guys. Appreciate it. It's February 20th, 2026. I gotta take a leak bet. I'm already doing the pee-pee dance. I gotta go. It's from Texas to the world. Thank y'all, and God bless.